quick update today on creating a content management system from scratch. In yesterday's video, I shared this implementation of a logging module. So I have the front end on the right-hand side of the screen and the markup on the left-hand side of the screen. So I've made a couple of changes. It occurred to me not everyone has a 4K screen, and so it probably doesn't make sense to just keep squishing these two in the same view, one above the other. And so you can see that as the browser window gets less and less tall, beyond a certain point, it just shows you one or the other and then shows some buttons where you can toggle back and forth. So to accomplish that, on the left-hand side, I added a handful of CSS styles. And then here in the H2, the main title where it says server logs, I added some markup here for these two buttons. And then in the actual content itself, there were almost no changes. I added a class name of monospaced so that the actual content here is using a monospaced font. And then in the scripting, most of that already existed. I modified the function that sets the heights of these elements to basically have an if-else condition. And so it's saying if the calculated height of each of these elements would be less than 150, then we're going to show the page something like that. Otherwise, if it would be 150 or greater, then we're going to show them stacked like this on the right-hand side. So that's essentially the logic behind the changes to that function. I think the vast majority of this already existed in the past video. Same with this, I believe. And then this function is new. This is just handling showing and hiding of different elements. And then also for the button toggling, just adding and removing a bold style to the buttons. And it does remember your selection. So like here I'm showing error logs and it remembers that. And then if I click over here to success, then at least as long as I'm on this page, it will remember that you're on success logs. So if you're moving the window around, changing the size, it'll remember that. So next steps are I'm going to hook up the search and filtering for the routing module. And then I'm going to copy and paste basically the entire routing module to use it as a starting point for the users module and the roles module. And then I'm going to make sure that for things like logs or that for these first four modules, routing, logs, users, and roles, that if I've missed any settings, then I'm going to add those in. So for example, for logs, I've kind of hard-coded past 30 days. And so I'm going to add some sort of setting or multiple settings around how long to keep logs. And then I need to figure out some sort of logic to purge older logs. And I think that's best done outside of the CMS, but I can at least have like a secondary backup process within the CMS. So for example, at application startup, I'll probably check for that and purge old logs. And then either when you enter the backend or maybe just specifically when you enter the logs module, I'll probably have it check on the backend and then just purge old logs. And that'll probably be good enough as far as a mechanism inside the CMS. And then of course it would be better to have periodic jobs that run asynchronously outside of the CMS itself to handle purging of old data. But that's an update and some immediate next steps. Thanks for watching.